Freelance.
Social worker. My mom was every child to room for her.
I met them when I first came to Seattle.
Wow.
Family group all the time.
Oh, hello. Can everybody hear me?
Okay, well, their history is so important.
I just want to thank everybody for coming.
I know this for 50 years.
Special greetings to the Jenkins
Thank
family. My name is Gabriel Fraud.
Hi, Gabriel.
I'm the president of the Seattle chapter of the H. Philip Randolph Institute. And also past president of the ILWU Local 52. I was also past member of ILWU Local 19, which is Frank Jenkins was also a member of. We're here today because we want to make sure that we have recognition and some kind of history, something that we can go back and look about Brother Frank Jenkins. He was very instrumental in his time. Many of us, especially me as a black man, appreciate the work that Jenkins did while he was a union man. Because he was instrumental in opening the door for many of us to get back and get into that industry. And so we want to make sure we preserve the history and make sure that it's not being forgotten. You know, if we don't document our history, nobody will know. So we have to make sure that we do that. And so we got brothers and sisters here that want to share that memory. They have some words that they want to share. And it's sad that we couldn't make this a historical home. Because it's well deserved because of the work that he done, the things that he did, and the struggle that he went through to get here. So at this point, I'm going to open it up for anybody in the family that wants to say something. Because we are videotaping this right now, and we're going to make sure that we keep it, store it, share it. We don't want this history to go. So at this time, I'm first going to call for any other family that wants to speak.
Talk about it. I'm emotional right now. This is my house, my granddad's house. I was raised in it. First of all, thank you guys for coming. Today I'm going to talk.
You got the flow, man. Go ahead.
Local 19, longshoremen rank and file is here today for support. I appreciate it. I'm humbled and I'm proud, as you can see. My wife and my granddad over there, my auntie's here. Indigenous people, hashtag my people, lived on 24th and everything. And for those of you who don't know, this was a union hall for the fire department, for the garbage men. Everybody stopped to pick his brain. And I kind of listened a little bit and all that, and he never wanted me to go do this. He said, I want you to go to college and get an education. And he made sure I knew how to play ball, and I was a good athlete, huh? That's about me. I had a little average around here, community college and everything. And so, starting people's unions and being in the union and regulating checks and balances, that's what my granddad did. I listened and I watched him write notes down about taking care of everybody, not just the block. And that's what a union is, it's a family. And you don't abandon your family. And he always, no matter what color, no matter what creed, he was always willing to help and willing to fight, especially if it was something he believed. And I got a few of those traits, but I'm gonna tell you something about this block right here. It was close, we were together, and one thing, he made sure of that. He was a big man, and he didn't never try to intimidate nobody. All he had to do was start talking. Or take that shoe off. You know, I got that 15 on my head a lot. I was a little hard-headed and everything. But he made sure that he wanted everybody to get along, everybody to be fair, everybody to do things together. And he sacrificed for me on the weekend. He never would work the weekend because he would take me to the gym, play catch with me, play football with me, go and sign me up to this and sign me up to that. And that's how the union starts, as a family. And he was adamant about that. He'd get mad, and if you read anything about him, he'll fight for that. Amen? Amen. He's something you believe in, you'll fight for that. And one thing that I always was impressed with is how he stood up as a kid. Sometimes you think people that don't need to be stood up for, but when you got older, yes, they did. You know, small people, the voice and everything, no matter what color. And so right here where all that started, and I'm so proud and I'm humbled today for all out here to honor his legacy, to see it through. My aunties, I haven't seen them in so long, but they know what their last name means and all that. Right. They used to come to this house a lot of times and have a shot or two. And might get put out, but and so I just like to thank the rank and file. Local 19, much respect. And I don't work there or nothing like that, but that's in my blood. Okay, and family and everything, and my co-workers are here today, and they know that I'm always going to stick up, especially if you need sticking up for it, because sometimes we don't do that. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we have to stick together. Indigenous people, black people, white people, whatever kind of color you are, we have to stick together. And that's how a union starts. One for all for one. Malia, come here, please. Turn around and tell everybody hi. This is Malia Jenkins. This is my granddaughter. And we kind of explained to her what it means, not only to just be a person of color, but to be a Jenkins. You have to act a certain way, you have to walk a certain way, and sometimes you have to let things roll off your back, just like as it was in the union. And my grandfather instilled that in me, and he raised me. I didn't meet my dad till I was 19 or something like that, but he had already raised me. And that's what we're doing here. My son's living in St. Louis, and she, we take care of her. She got her own opinion about a lot of things. Say hi to everybody and tell everybody you love them.
I love you.
Jenkins strong here. Union strong here. And it's not about my granddad. It's about the union that he created. Okay. Everybody working down there in Wayne here who got to work today. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
That's my family.
Getting paid too, huh? Woo! Getting paid too, huh, baby? And I know I'm a ramble a little bit, but sometimes you have to stand up for something or fall for anything.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Okay? And I know you guys are glad. Color, women, females, whatever you are, down there working, getting paid, because y'all getting paid. Give yourself a hand. You know what I'm today, huh? Thank you very much. Good to see everybody.
Thank you for coming.
I love you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. She hears it all the time.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, come on.
Good, how are you?
Pretty good.
Let's go. She was Sam right there. Tell them who you are, where you stay, and all that.
My name is Felina Bryant, and I grew up across the street in the 60s. This is the first place that I ever knew that we lived when I was 4 years old. My father, Leggett Allen Bryant Jr., owned the gas station that was the Chevron. That's the car wash now. There's only ever been two things there, and that's that. The gas station and the car wash. He's one of the first black-owned Chevron gas station owners in the Pacific Northwest. I am a third-generation union worker. I'm a retired Teamster from 117. My first notice of the union was my grandfather in Texas. His name is Leggett Allen Bryant Sr. He organized the Black Home Importers. The second, my father was a carpenter. He was in the Carpenters Union for years. He retired at 56, but before that, he retired at he worked for Peter Hewitt until he was 46 and then worked on his own and was finished working by the time he was 56 and became a property landowner. I am a third-generation union worker. I was a heavy equipment operator first. Now, I don't look like much, but I'm all I can do.
You can drive, don't you?
That's why I drive what I drive now, because I like really good suspension. But I am a third-generation union worker, and it was really hard to do. It was just very hard. It's very hard being a woman in an all-man's field, but don't nobody make no kind of money. like a union made for me.
Uh-huh.
Benefits, 100% benefits. And so I saw the notice about Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Frank Jenkins, and everything that went on here. And I was just like, oh, I gotta go for Brain, right? I gotta show up for Brain, because he was our neighbor, lived across the street. Because this house is very important. You know, the Black Panthers was down in the corner too.
Say that, Jen. Say that, Jen.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, I'm glad they were there, because we got that whole program.
Good job.
It was one of the first jobs I ever had, because I did cell tests and all the projects as a 14-year-old. As a teenager, the first job I ever had was with the Black Panthers doing cell tests and all the projects.
Say it again.
Yes, so our community is very union strong. There's a lot of union workers in this community. I'm just really proud to be here. I'm really glad to represent for the Jenkins family. I'm Belina Bryant. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm honored to be here today.
Excuse me, let me see if I can speak up.
My name is Francesca Bradley Hooper. My great-grandmother is Latina Jenkins. This is my sister, Thompson. Bradley Thompson. We're sisters. I'm just thinking about the memories, because it's been a long, long time. Uncle Frank was actually our mom, Dolores' uncle. But the thing that I will just never forget is the memories at Christmas time out at our family home down Nana, that's right, at Nana's home, yeah. And getting together, and just got so excited when Uncle Frank and Aunt Marie showed up, you know. Well,
As you should.
yeah. But just the memories of being together, because it was family time. Can't remember a whole lot past that, other than just the fun that we had being together as a family, and how Uncle Frank just told jokes and made us laugh. That's a memory we cherish. And so this morning, I just happened to be, because I couldn't go to sleep, I'm looking on Facebook, and then I see this post about this today. I'm going, what? How come nobody notified us? So I looked at the time,
Yeah, you're here.
and then I called my sister. I said, we've got to go. We've got to be there to represent. So we are here and proud of the heritage. Proud of the heritage. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Bless y'all.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, the market.
Thank you. Thank you.
Memories are inspiring. It's going to remain in history. We want to make sure we document that.
Yes, sir.
Just humbled to be here today. Because many a times our history has never been told.
Yeah.
And it's the same. We have great history.
Yes, we do.
That's
Now
right.
let it be just go to waste. So at this point, I'm going to call my brother Lee Carr, who is one of our organizing committees. And he has the list of speakers ready for.
So do you.
Got radar out there. Oh boy, here we go. Traffic.
So at this time, I want to call on Dr. Kim England, current Harry Bridges Chair and Bridges Center Director.
She know what she's talking about. Go down. Go down.
Hi, I'm Kim England. I'm the current Harry Bridges Labour Studies. I'm the director of the Harry Bridges Labour Study Centre at the University of Washington. I need to be closer.
Yeah, is it on?
And louder. Is it on?
Is it even on?
It's not.
Start over. Press the button. tell I've done this a lot. I don't have my glasses.
Yay! Okay.
I don't get the job, do I? I'm not going to get the role in this film. I am the Harry Bridges Chair of Labour Studies at the University of Washington and the Director of the Harry Bridges Center for Labour Studies. And obviously we're named for a very important person in the ILWU. And I don't really need to tell you too much about that, except to tell you that he was a very strong anti-racist. And one of the people that helped him in that endeavor was, of course, the father, grandfather, and a relative of several people that are here today, Frank Jenkins. One of the things that I admire about Frank Jenkins, who of course I didn't meet because he passed in 1973, is that he brought together union activism and civil rights activism. And for him, it was an issue of thinking about class through race and race through class. He brought these things together. For many years after he passed, as many of you will know, really his wonderful activism wasn't known about beyond his friends and colleagues at the ILWU.
That's how he wanted it, though.
Oh, well, we have a fellowship in his name, so if he wasn't so keen on having that go forward, we went against that a couple of years ago. So in about 2018, some of the people here will know this, ILWU, some of the local 19, some of the people that were still around that worked with Frank, and also the West Coast ILWU committee, thank you, that'll do, decided that everybody needed to know about Frank Jenkins' contributions to Seattle, to the labor movement, to thinking about, in a contemporary moment, really Black Lives Matter. So one of the things that folks did, particularly the pensioners, and was to start a fundraising campaign again. And I say again because the Bridges Center was founded initially through a fundraising effort of the ILWU. And if I could raise my hand without thinking I might break this, I would say solidarity. We are thrilled that we've been able to have the Frank Jenkins Junior Fellowship in Labour Studies for students at the University of Washington who are dedicating their education to the labour movement. We particularly want to pick out students who are interested in issues, or committed rather than just interested, to committed issues to do with diversity and inclusion. We have given the award to 4 people so far. We're about to give it to another set of 2. I'm looking at my colleague from the centre over there. 2, we're nodding. And I'm really hoping that Paulette Taylor, who was one of the first recipients of the award, will be able to join us. Paulette is a PhD student in education. She is the granddaughter of a longshoreman, and she has worked for many years in the education system. I think she taught at Franklin High School, and of course went back to her PhD. She's fantastic. I hope she can join us, and I want to say rest in power, Frank.
Right.
Okay, since we mentioned Paulette, is Paulette Thompson here? Is Paulette Thompson here? Paulette is not here. So I'm going to move on to Cindy Domingo. She's part of the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance.
All right.
I'm small, but I got a big voice. So thank you to Gabriel for asking me to speak. I'm a Filipino, second generation Filipino American. And to tell the truth, I had not heard of Frank's name until the Harry Bridges Labor Center dinner, in which I found out about who he was. And there are certain people that you wish you would have known, and Frank would have been one of them. Such a courageous man who believed in building bridges across communities for the betterment of working class people. Frank's name should be a household name in this city and in the ILWU movement, in the Filipino American history books, and the African American history books.
Come on.
I am a student of history, Filipino American history, and I will talk about Frank as much as I can because I come from a union family. You know, you look at this neighborhood and they want to wipe out our history. Central area used to be a neighborhood in which all sorts of people lived in. Filipinos and African Americans were neighbors, they worked together, and we have had a long history that nobody knows about in terms of solidarity, living together, working together, intermarrying each other, and building a community that's together working for working people.
Amen.
Amen. One of the speakers mentioned the railroad porters. African Americans and Filipinos who were porters also worked together to form that union, fought for better working conditions for railroad porters. Tyree Scott, many of you know Tyree Scott.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
A friend of mine who I will love forever, that I learned so much about building solidarity, not only in this country, but solidarity abroad. And he built an organization that I'm still part of, LILO, Labor Employment and Labor Employment Office, a legacy of equality, leadership, and organizing, in which African American construction workers who fought to get into the construction trades, Asian Pacific Islander cannery workers, and Latinx agriculture workers worked together to implement the 1964 civil rights movements in their workplaces, in their housing. That will be a history that we will not forget. And I wish Frank was here today so that we could continue that history, because I know he would be right up for building cross-community, cross-issue, ensuring especially that women were at the forefront. I can't stress enough that we must work together to make sure that Frank Jenkins' name is top on people's tongue when they talk about the labor movement, when they talk about the civil rights movement. We must not let them forget it, because our colonized education system will allow the erasure of our history, especially our labor leaders. And so I pledge that I will always remember Frank, and I hope there will be lots of research done on him so he will not be forgotten. And I just want to say, if Frank was here today, if Tyree Scott was here today, we would be saying what LILO's historical slogan is, no separate peace, because we are all in this together.
Yep.
Yes.
My brother, Selmy Domingo and Jean Bernas, were murdered in Seattle in 1981 as a result of working for solidarity between Filipino workers and repression in the Philippines and workers here in this country. And Tyree Scott was a champion in getting justice. We won a landmark decision, winning $23.5 million against the Marcos dictatorship, the only time that a foreign dictator has ever been held accountable in U.S. courts. And I know if Frank was alive on this 40th anniversary of their deaths, he'd be standing right next to me,
Yes, he would.
saying, victory for us all.
Thank you.
My sister. Thank you. You know, I heard people mention about the porters. And that makes me proud because I represent APRI Seattle, who organized the porters. And that's history. It goes way, way back. So at this time, I would like to present a very friend and union brother of mine that I know him for many, many years. We are part of the same union. He led that same local that Frank Jenkins was part of as a president. And he's also, and he's presently a member of the Frank Jenkins Junior Fellowship. And that's Brother Harold Uglis.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paula.
Thank you, everybody. It's a real honor to be here. A real honor, because I know a house like this would be really what is the root. And I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty positive when Harry Bridges, the founder of the ILWU, was in town, I'm sure he graced. I'm sure he graced this, because whenever he came in town, we didn't stay at hotels or whatever, didn't have much money, they stayed in the members' house. And it was Harry Bridges, when the union was founded, that said, in the future, if there's only 2 workers, one will be white, one will be black.
Amen.
And that was important to us. And that is something that we've grown and worked, and the diversity opened up to women. And it is, we've been very exclusive. I'm not inclusive. I'm sorry. We've been exclusive that we have great benefits. And I'm honored to say is we just completed our 38th convention, and we did it virtually because of obviously of COVID. But I want to say that with great honor is we just re-elected Willie Adams, the first black president of ILW, for another 3 years. So that was a great honor to be part of that. We acknowledged the 40th anniversary of the tragic killing, and I actually remember that as I remember because I had started on the waterfront in 1980, and I remember that happening, that tragic. And as a kid, my dad was a longshoreman, and all I remember is he worked all the time, and the 4th Thursday of the month, he didn't come home because he had the union meeting, so we got to eat whatever the kids wanted to eat. And at that time, as a kid, I was oblivious to the union, except that my dad did talk about it. And then I know the only reason I have straight teeth nowadays is because under our contract, we had orthodontic work. So all of us 5 kids, except one, finally got braces and stuff like that. So those small things. Remember the big strike? Remember that, how hard that was. And we actually had to go and get food stamps, but then we drove to another neighborhood because we didn't want to have to, what my father felt was ashamed to have to ask for help. But I have one thing my father that I remember as a kid is he always would talk about Jenkins and Juneteenth. They were the 2 LRC members of Local 19. And he just talked about how fair and honest they were.
All the time.
And he talked about them in a tandem. And that's what helped straight. And what I heard, I had never had the honor of meeting Frank Jenkins, but my dad would talk about his class of style. Because our union meetings at sometimes, Gabriel will know, and everybody else would get a little rowdy and a few, emotions, and everybody might start calling names.
Tradition maintained.
Yeah.
Tradition is maintained.
Frank was always class and style. He didn't lose his temper, and that was where he had a lot of respect amongst the membership.
Like this one.
Yep, he just would keep it even killed when everybody got excited and was, wanted to throw each other in the garbage can and stuff. He kept it calm.
Believe this man, he's been there.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, his picture hung in the president's office of ILW Local 19. And then when I had the honor to sit in that seat for 4.5 years, and sit at that desk where I know these other great members did, and every day I would look at Frank Jenkins. That's why when I look at you, brother, I never met you, I can see that. So at times when I'd get really upset or not know, I would just kind of actually look into that and look into his eyes and go, okay, what's my inspiration? Where's my inspiration? And truly, it was a calming thing in my life. That's what we have to do. I really do thank the family for allowing him to be it, because to be a union officer, It's a sacrifice to the family, but the person knows it's make people feel better. That's why we did it. That's why we had it. So that's why when I was approached, Bob Dugan, who is the attorney for the ILWU, he's actually a longshoreman, worked with my dad and Jenkins. He became the attorney for the ILWU. They wanted to start. Juggum already had a chair. So he said he wants to get one for Jenkins, for Brother Jenkins. So I was asked to come aboard, and the other brothers had already been working on it, and we were able to secure from the ILWU Coast $100,000. We matched that with our local, put in $100,000. Then the other locals up and down matched that. I think we started out with 260 or somewhere in that ballpark. And then what we asked when we wrote, because they got to write out a contract with us. I don't know, I'm always learning. So we wanted to make sure that this scholarship was given to people that deserved it, that were going to work in the labor movement and the social movement, because they are all in one, sometimes combined, sometimes a little apart. But so we asked that we are part of that selection.
Yes, sir.
So be careful what you ask for, you'll get it. They said, great, Harold, you are now on that committee. So it's been a real honor, and it's a real challenge, because I think our first year, we had over 40, 50 applicants. I know last year we had over 60. And I read their stories. And you read them, and you want to give everybody, something. But we know we have to narrow it down, which means I got to actually make the decision in 2 weeks after I go committee. But it's a great honor to do, and I encourage anybody that has kids at the University of Washington or any of their branches, and it's even if you're just going in for the first year or you're a graduate, it's wide open. So with that, we were able to establish that this will be our third year. We presented it. It's a great thing, and like I said, it's a real honor to be here. And Local 19 owes Brother Jenkins a whole lot, and I'll keep his memory alive in my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Harold.
Thank you, Harold. Thank you, Harold.
I guess the timing is just perfect, because it's great that Harold spoke about the endowment, and now we got Sister Paulette Thompson, who is a recipient of the endowment.
Yes.
Come on.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. I don't think so. I think you can hear that. Awesome. Yeah. So first of all, I want to say that it was an honor and a privilege to be the first recipient of the Frank Jenkins Fellowship at the Harry Bridges Center for Labor Studies. Just a shout out to the brothers and sisters at ILWU for making this happen. So Alika Burgett, my co-recipient, Native Hawaiian, and I, NAFRA descendant, this has meant a lot to us in the work that we do. For me, I spent as a teacher in the Seattle schools, as a teacher activist, and that is what I study, teacher activism. I believe that there's a transformation that teachers go through when they understand their role in the labor movement. Our working conditions are our students' learning conditions. And thinking about growing up here in Seattle, I did not learn about Juneteenth. I did not learn in the schools. I didn't learn about ILWU. I did not learn about the great Afro-Filipino Frank Jenkins. And I think it's important that we have an understanding of what's happened in the past, what's happening now, and where we're going in the future. And I was going to say a bunch of different things today, but I want to end by just saying something that I just read this morning that really makes it really plain about the work that ILWU does and other unions. And this is what Clint Smith said. He wrote this book that just came out called "How the Word Is Passed." It's a reckoning of slavery here in the Americas. And this is what he says:
When I think of Juneteenth, I think of the generations of black folks who fought for a freedom they knew they might never see themselves, but who fought for it anyway. It is a reminder that we do not always try to build a better world so that we can see it, but so that in the future, someday, others will. And that is the work that is done here, and that is the work that Frank Jenkins and Harry Bridges did it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian,
Because I got to say something.
Yeah.
Come on, Mr. Lyle.
Yeah, I see that.
I have to close it because I have something I need to look on.
This is Kitty Lyle.